What's up, everybody? Welcome to the State of Wild, episode 40, a regular YouTube video web series podcast thingy. My name's Meowth, and as usual, I'm joined by Corbettgames. Corbett, how you doing tonight, dude?
Doing very well. I have managed to finally finish my climb on EU after graduating from the NA ladder after hitting rank 1. And so, yeah, it's been fun to be able to finally visit EU again for the first time in about a year without going on that server. So, yes, doing well today.
You know, all the people are going to give you crap that are like from EU to be like, you finally hit rank 1, now you can join the real server. And it bullies me, stuck at lowly top 100 legend, so it makes me feel bad. But it's alright, because we have a lot to talk about today. But before we get into all of that, just a reminder to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you guys enjoy our content. It's a small thing, but it does actually support us a ton. So yeah, let's just start off talking kind of big picture and our general impressions about how the meta has shifted in the past week. I think the first thing we should talk about is Death and Taxes Paladin, or like the Aggro Secret Paladin, or whatever name you guys want to give it. So last week we were talking about how it was potentially the best deck in the format. It looked like it had an insanely high win rate. We thought it might be warping the meta, but it seems that the meta has actually adjusted very nicely. It seems like it's coming back down to earth. It seems like it's just a good old, solid, powerful deck, right? Nothing kind of obscene compared to everything else around it.
Yeah, the format that Tax Pal is walking into over the first couple days of the expansion were very, very favorable. The deck matched up incredibly well with Dark Lair Warlock, and most people defaulted to, Dark Lair will still be the best deck, and things like that. And so it had a really, really great time in that kind of environment. Now there's a lot less Dark Lair, there's less Secret Mage, it feels like, or at least there has been. We'll see if Secret Mage, picks back up with some other decks. But yeah, it seems like people are generally a bit more aware of Tax Pally. They're countering it, they're taking against it. And now the win rate has dropped to, a really, really good deck rather than just being completely obscene.
Yeah, I know some people hate playing against it, but I really, really do hope that it does stick around. Primarily, there's a couple cards in that deck that are some nerf targets because of standard, and we'll talk about that in a little bit here. But I really was excited by this deck because it felt like it loosened the chokehold that Dark Lair and Secret Mage had on the metagame, right? Because those were the top two decks. They weren't changing very much, so a lot of people still had access to play them. And it seemed like Death and Taxes Paladin kind of has opened up the metagame a little bit and allowed a lot more decks to potentially be viable because they're no longer being oppressed by Dark Lair and Secrets. And I really hope that after some of the nerfs that it remains powerful in the format.
Yeah, the most diverse metas generally, there's a bit of push and pull, right? Like if something else starts to pop up too much, you can sort of counter it with something else. And the problem that was kind of going around recently was like, how do you beat Dark Lair and Mage? A lot of players are really struggling with that because if you went the Odd Warrior route, you'd just lose so hard to everything that it wasn't really a viable path. And so, yeah, Tax Pally sort of opened things up, definitely. And hopefully, we'll see if it can survive the nerfs, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah. And the next thing I want to talk about is kind of the rise of Corbett Mage or APM Mage, because curse you for making this archetype a reality. Let's talk about APM Mage or Miracle Mage. So this is the deck that Enchantress Flow and then either Sorcerer's Apprentice plus Mizaki or Sorcerer's Apprentice plus Flamewaker, whichever route you end up taking. And then kills you as early as turn 4 or turn 5 because, smiley face. Corbett, this deck has become super popular, I think, solely because of you. I mean, no. I don't know if this is something you want to take credit for, but APM Mage is all over at least NA Legend Ladder. And it seems like a legitimate deck. Like, it's not a garbage, tier 3, tier 4 deck. It's not a meme. It's a real deck, and I think it's here to stay. Unless, Sorcerer's Apprentice or Enchantress Flow gets nerfed, but I don't think that's ever happening, at least this first round of nerfs that's coming on Tuesday.
Yeah, APM Mage, APM Mage, I certainly don't think I can take that much credit for it, to be honest. Maybe for helping popularize it a little bit.
I think you can.
But, I saw the list originally on HS Replay on a very, very low sample, and it's caught my eye. This is before the expansion came out. I was playing a lot of this deck before the expansion, and then, we got the refreshing water. And, kind of all hell, the dam really just broke with that. And so once we got this, right, it's very, very popular at high ranks in particular. A lot of the top players on EU and NA are using APM Mage. I think the deck is generally, I think it's really hard to play like super well. Like this deck is really challenging in my opinion. Personally, I like the Flamewaker version more than Mizaki, and I just think it's better. But yeah, there's been like such an influx of it. It's not without counters, and Secret Mage is a very difficult matchup. And so we were just talking about how Tax Pally sort of pushed back Mage, Secret Mage. Maybe APM Mage kind of brings it back, and that's sort of that natural like push and pull that you like to see in the format.
Yeah, I like an APM Mage. So today was the first day that I actually like sat down and played a few games of the deck, and it seemed very akin to me to Darkglare Warlock, right? Where like when you have the uber nuts, you win the game on turn 4, and you're just like, haha, Flamewaker, go burr. But other times you don't draw the double encounter slow, and you don't have the Flamewaker Apprentice in your opening hand, and you actually like it takes a ton of skill to min-max your percentage points, and it felt very Darkglare to me. Which is why I think a lot of people are flocking to it, because a lot of people love those really high skill cap combo style decks like Darkglare Warlock, like Quest Mage, like Snip Snap Warlock, where you get rewarded for that. So it makes sense to me that APM Mage is getting really, really popular, but God, I hate it so much because I feel like I get scammed every other game against the deck.
Yeah, I mean, it's very much in that similar family, right, of like Darkglare and Quest Mage. These sort of very low curve, very quick combo kind of decks where you're heavily drawing, you're playing a ton of cards in one turn, you're having to make a lot of very quick decisions a lot of the time, very APM related. And so it isn't that sort of that whole like sort of subcategory. And so for you, yeah, I definitely get it. It's very flashbacks to Quest Mage in a lot of ways, which I'm loving it. I'm having a great time because I'm the one doing it to people, and not people aren't doing it to me that much. So yeah, I've basically been maining the deck. I don't tend to main decks or like get stuck playing one thing for too long. Right now, I really am just stuck playing this APM Mage. I haven't played much else really for the past week or so, and I'm having a great time with it. So,
I mean, to be fair, every time you main a deck, though, it does eventually get nerfed, right? Like Quest Mage, Snip Snap, Darkglare. So, like, fingers crossed that maybe one day APM Mage will as well. I mean, I'm just kidding. I think the deck is fine. I don't, like you said, I don't think it's without counters. You mentioned Secret Mage. I had an insanely high win rate with stuff like Pirate Warrior as well into it, just because it's very hard for them to freeze your minions as well as freeze your face. And Ship's Cannon, we were speaking about Flamewaker go burr. Ship's Cannon also goes burr with a ton of pirates, and so we can we'll talk about Pirate Warrior later today, but like I think the deck is not without counters. I do think it's a very good deck, and with my hatred of the deck aside, right, putting that aside, I think it's a fine deck for the metagame, right? It's not obscenely powerful or anything like that. I mean, it does have some sort of a pretty unfun play pattern, but so did Darkglare Warlock and stuff like that, and it's still a deck. So I think APM Mage can stick around and not be super problematic for the format.
I think you're kind of being a little too kind to it. I think you should be calling it out a little bit harder. Because, no, I just mean like, I mean, it's pretty toxic, the art. Like, the deck is like the deck is
it is the definition of solitaire. Like, I don't know if any of you guys watch my stream, but literally anytime an opponent starts their combo, I put on the Jeopardy music and just kind of like zone out. And I come back in 45, 60 seconds to see if I'm dead or not. So, yeah, I'll give it that. But I think it's not without counters, and I don't know if it's the best deck in the format. But like, I mean, I also said this about Darkglare Warlock, and we all see how that ended up. But I'm hesitant to call it like super broken just because it's only been around for a week. But I might be wrong. It might be super broken. I personally hate playing against the deck, and we've seen that play pattern is a very reasonable way for them to nerf decks, right? Like that's been kind of the main way or reason that they have nerf decks. But I'm hesitant on my judgment. I think is the big thing here. I'm trying to be super neutral and not be like bash an APM Mage the first week that it's in the meta.
I mean, I couldn't blame you, but yeah. So like I said, I've been having a great time with it. It's like one of the best decks that one of the highest win rates that I've had, and so we'll see if that settles down. We'll see what the win rate looks like, right, when it gets into the wider players' hands, because there are a few individuals that seem to be doing really well with it, but we'll see how that translates, to the wider player base. But I do think the deck is really good. I do think that the counters that it has are very narrow, especially with things like Devolving Missiles kind of getting teched in. Devolving kind of fixes some problems that it was having against things like Watch Post. And so yeah, we'll see how things fall, especially with the nerfs coming around. If it can dodge the nerfs. then it might be here for a while.
All right, so we've talked a lot about AP Mage. Let's talk about the next up and coming combo deck. I think maybe we can take a little bit of credit here on the podcast because we brought this to light last week. We talked about the Celestial Alignment Malygos combo Druid. We're not taking credit for it, right? This was already a deck that we had seen on HS Replay, but we wanted to point out that it was a deck. It was seeing some success, and it has kind of taken off specifically in the last like 2 or 3 days. I've keyed into a ton of it on ladder. So basically what this deck tries to do, if you guys don't know, is it plays Celestial Alignment, locks people out, and then what you do on your next turn, while your opponent only has 1 mana, is like you'll play stuff like Lightning Blooms and Biology Projects and Nourishes, so that you gain a ton of mana crystals. And then you play the new Malygos, I think it's the Spell Weaver, I believe, the new name.
I'll take your word for it.
But you play that to get all the rest of your ramp spells, like Bio Projects, Lightning Blooms, and Nourishes, and then you UI them, draw your entire combo, you play a Malygos, refresh your mana crystals with Kun or Omu, and then, point a bunch of spells at their face, and you do all of that, like, the turn after you Celestial Alignment, which is kind of disgusting. Again, it's really hard to see what the power of this deck is, given that it's kind of just now, in the past couple of days, risen in popularity. But I do think that with stuff like Oaken Summons and Spreading Plague, you have a chance against any deck that's sort of aggressive. And as long as you don't get like a Luciad, I think you're kind of good.
Yeah, I've seen like Goku in particular like streaming the deck a lot. And so yeah, seeing it pop up very recently over the past couple of days. I think the deck isn't that good. I think it's like fairly fragile, but is the question like, is it the best version of Malygos Druid? And it probably is. Like, it's probably better than the old version that we were using with Melon and the Aviana Kun combo, things like that. At least it looks like it right now. So yeah, I'd really like it if this sort of replaced the old Mali Druid. Like the old Mali Druid was so stale, and I'm never a big fan of Aviana Kun combo decks. Like, they're just not my favorite type of thing to do in the format. And so, yeah, I kind of hope this pops up a little bit more, or at least gets refined. It does have potential, right? Like, the turns where you pop off really, really hard. And so, yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But it will feel probably a very similar role to something like APM Mage, but I do think it's generally a bit more fragile, which is kind of where like this deck type Mali Druid has been, for the past year or so.
I will say there's a little bit of hidden power in the deck, though, with like Celestial Alignment stops your opponent from being able to interact with you, right? Like, I was running into the situation playing some Arena Priest where my opponent played Celestial Alignment. I had the Elucia in my hand, and they comboed before I was able to play the Elucia, because I can't Elucia on 1 mana and then be able to disrupt your combo. Or I can't, like, Dirty Rat and then be able to disrupt your combo, right? Because I can't kill the Malygos if I rat it, or kill the Omu.
Sorry, one thing I want to get into, I played 1 game of the Mirror with this deck, and it almost broke my brain. Because the first one to play the alignment loses.
Yeah.
And so it becomes this incredibly weird game where, like, I ended up realizing halfway through how this was going to go. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to tempo the Mali. And then I tempoed the Mali and just like had to hope it stuck. And then like they dealt with it and they played their Mali and I dealt with that. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, we're going deep into fatigue. And it's about whoever sticks their 5/5 off the UI. And you have to play it because otherwise you don't have a minion on board. And the Kun just bashes each other in the head. Very, very weird matchup. Like one of the strangest mirrors I think I've ever played.
I mean, that's kind of how the Giants went, like the day that it was a deck, right? Like whoever Celestialed first lost the mirror. So, God, I really hope the deck doesn't become popular because of that exact thing. That'd be disgusting. That reminds me of like the Tog Druid mirrors, where like if you Tog comboed while they had Tog in hand, then it just became like you would just keep Tog.
Like an infinite. Yeah.
You just keep comboing each other and then trying to tempo each other out that way. Yeah, let's not have that become meta. But I think Celestial Mali Druid, I think, is a legitimate deck. Again, it's way too early to tell like how powerful it is, but just wanted to point it out as like this is kind of the new hotness, right? APM Mage was like early this week, and now the last couple of days has been all about Celestial Mali Druid, and we'll see kind of next week how powerful the deck actually ends up being. But yeah, so let's move on to the next thing. Let's talk about nerfs. Nerfs are coming Monday or Tuesday. We don't know what the nerfs are yet, and we don't know when they're coming exactly. But it has been confirmed that there are 6 changes coming, and they are affecting Mage, Paladin, Rogue, and Neutral. neutral minions. And so Deck of Lunacy was confirmed yesterday in Ixar's Q&A, but we can kind of speculate based on power level in Standard that the other cards are probably Sword of the Fallen, Jandis, 2-mana Watch Post, Penflinger, and then probably 3-mana Watch Post, but that one's like the one that's the most up in the air. And so that's why we're talking about maybe it's Incanter's Flow, maybe that gets hit. And that's why we're like a little bit of hesitation when it comes to APM Mage, but...
I really don't think they'll do Incanters.
No?
I really
Okay.
think it is those 6, personally. But, you know, I don't have any inside info, so I really do think it's those 6, though.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people are thinking. I'm over here hoping that Incanter's Flow gets hit, because screw APM Mage, but, I mean, out of these 6... I would really hate for Jandis, because I play a bunch of LPG Mage, and obviously like Odd Rogues and stuff like that. I really, really, really hope they don't hit Jandis, but I mean, 2-mana Watch Post, Penflinger, and Sword of the Fallen. Those are the 3 that we want to talk about. So Sword of the Fallen likely is going to 2 durability instead of 3 cost. So at 2 durability, it's probably still good enough because it is completely broken at 3 mana. So at 2 toughness, I mean at 3 durability, sorry, not 3 mana. But at 2 durability, it is probably still strong enough to see play in that Aggro Paladin. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. I think right now we're kind of running a 5th secret that we don't like that much, so we get to cut a secret if we go to durability. I think the ability to kind of like fetch Oh My Yogg into Oh My Yogg is pretty disgusting and would still be worth it even at the 2 dura.
Yeah. And then 2-mana Watch Post. I mean, I'm assuming they go to a 2/3 is what I would assume. And so at 3 health, it is much, much, much easier to remove, right? Stuff like Crossbolts and Drain Souls and Penance, all that kind of stuff. I think it probably will still be running the Teth and Taxes version of Aggro Paladin, but I think it is also worth considering at that point, do you just go like pure old Aggro Secret Paladin, cut the Watch Post, cut the Web Lords, or maybe you still keep the Web Lords, who knows, but then lean in a little bit heavier on the just like pure aggro version of the deck.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. I think at 3 health, I think you probably don't play it. I don't think in like the aggro, I think you try and look at a different build. But at the same time, it's kind of hard to go for more of a secret synergy. Like you can't really load up on secret cards if they nerf sword, and so I think you probably go to more of a stock, just aggro thing. Which is kind of what you're describing, right?
Yeah.
So like very minimal secret synergy, but you still run the sword, and then you probably cut the post. Like 3 to 4 is such a difference, right? The health points. 3 is so easy to deal with.
Yeah, especially like it makes coining out the Watch Post so much worse, or just like playing it on 2. So it's like Watch Post is only really great off of Cult Arms, and at that point, like so are a lot of other 2-drops, and it's coming out on turn 4. So yeah. We'll see what change they actually end up making to the Watch Post, because we don't know what they are, right? And then let's talk about Penflinger. So Penflinger, I think the nerf that a lot of people are talking about is only being able to hit minions. And so basically you cut this from Dark Lair and you cut this from Reno Priest, because at that point, pretty mediocre. And I mean, would you still cut it to Reno Priest actually?
Yeah, that's what I was about to question. I don't think you would cut it in Reno Priest. I think you'd probably still play it. Yeah.
So, like, I mean, because, like, on the combo turn, it's slightly less damage, but it also still synergizes stuff like Cleric and Acolytes and all that kind of stuff anyway. So, yeah, okay, I can see it. I think the big thing then is it's cut from Dark Lair, right?
Yeah, that's the big story, for sure.
I don't play Dark Lair, so I'll defer to you here. If the Penflinger nerf goes to only being able to hit minions because you're no longer able to hit your face, right, on the Dark Lair pop-off turns, you're cutting it from Dark Lair. How do you think that this impacts Dark Lair's power level?
I really don't think it has that big of an impact. I think it's one of the, like, out of all the cards in Glare, I think that the Penflinger nerf is actually one of the, like, easiest for it to sort of brush off. So I think it just reduces some damage potential that you had in late game, but not really. And in terms of like reducing the cost of your giants, Penflinger was helpful, but not that amazing. And so I think it's okay. Like, do we go to like Crystal? Maybe Crystallizer becomes more popular as a one of, just because it gets you a little bit deeper into that like Molten Giant territory very quickly. But yeah, I think Dark Lair can sort of brush it off if Penflinger does get enough like this. Yeah.
Unlucky is what you're telling me. Unfortunately.
Unlucky. Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, I don't want to spend too much more time on the nerfs because, again, none of this has been confirmed, right? I think
That's
the only one,
speculative. Yeah.
it's completely speculative. The only thing that has been confirmed is that Deck of Lunacy is getting nerfed because of Standard. It was confirmed by Ixar. The rest of the 5 is completely speculative. We'll see what happens. We're getting it early this week. I think they said Monday or Tuesday is when the patch should come in. So we'll have a week to see the effect on the metagame, and we'll talk about that next week. But yeah, so for the rest of the episode, we're going to do something a little bit different. We haven't done this before. But we've had about a week and a half now of the metagame. We started to see some of the power level of these decks. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go through some of the meta decks for each class. And we're going to just talk about winners and losers. So basically, these archetypes, have they gained ground? Are they winners in the wild metagame? Have they lost ground, or are they losers? Or are they just in a very similar place and haven't really changed, their place? So this is kind of a little bit different than saying a deck got stronger or a deck got worse, right? Because the meta around it has shifted. And so has it gained ground in the metagame? Has it become better than a lot of other options? It's kind of the big thing that we're going to analyze these archetypes with. And so let's go ahead and start off with Paladin. We've talked a lot about Aggro Paladin. I mean, I think it's very fair to say that Paladin in general is a winner because it has gained a lot of new toys, specifically Sword of the Fallen and Cult Arms.
Yeah, Paladin definitely I think comfortably the biggest winner class, in terms of like pushing multiple archetypes. So yeah, again, we'll see how that goes once Sword is nerfed, very, very likely. But so far with Call to Arms and Sword combined, it's really pushed a number of different Pally archetypes right up into, tier 1 territory. Like it has the most number of like strong, like really strong archetypes right now.
I mean, so let's talk about them. So we've talked a lot about Aggro Paladin or Death and Taxes Paladin. I think it's fair to say it is less of a winner than it was last week, but it's still, much, much better than it has been in a very, very long time. Odd Paladin didn't get Call to Arms, but Odd Paladin got Knight of Anointment and Conviction, both insanely, insanely powerful cards. Dude, Conviction and Odd Paladin is like absolutely disgusting. On turn 5, I hit somebody for 28 damage, by the way. Like, not even using Quartermaster. It was actually
I don't even need it. Yeah, I mean those 1-mana fireballs, they'll do some work. Yeah,
and the fact that they're permanent too is like absolutely disgusting. So Libra Paladin got Cariel Realm, very, very powerful card. It got Knight of Anointments. I think Libra Paladin is probably the weakest winner. I don't know how to phrase this. Like, it gained the least, but it still gained a significant amount out of these other Paladin archetypes. Like, I know we stand Libra Paladin on this podcast, but like, I went 12-2 with the deck on my Climb to Legend this month. Like, it's still a very, very good deck. I'm a little bit scared of the Flinger nerf.
Yeah, that'll hurt.
It's going to hurt a lot in Libra Paladin. Yeah. I might revisit like Idis Darkbane or whatever her name is.
Yeah. I also like played a bit of Libra Paladin and had a really good win rate with it and things like that before I went back to Miracle Mage. But yeah, I think with that like Flinger, you just do run that Idis for the finisher, and you could probably like shrug it off a little bit. In standard they're gonna struggle a little bit more to find a finisher. I think Idis in wild is like a pretty good alternative, right? Just kind of sitting there.
It does obscene amounts of damage. I think what's gonna hurt more is the fact that like Flingers for board control against other aggressive decks is what I'm gonna miss the most, right? And then like maybe at that point, I know Pyromancers have like historically not been great in Libra Paladins, but maybe we revisit that as just like a way to help control the board, especially since we have fairly consistent ways now to draw and discount our Libra Wisdoms. So maybe worth something considering. But yeah, let's move on to the last Paladin archetype. Maybe the Paladin archetype that is the biggest winner. I think by far and away the biggest winner. Let's talk about Handbuff Paladin. So first of all, shout outs to Bodybuilder. Hit rank 1 legend. Like, there's like 4 people that play this deck, and he hit rank 1 legend with this deck. So shout outs to him. I think the biggest surprise is like, so his version is running the Knight of Anointments, the Convictions. Obviously, Samuro is kind of broken. There's like no room for stuff like Runthak or Serenite Chain Gang, cards that we thought were going to be kind of just absolutely insane in this deck. So he's gone like super low curve and all that kind of good stuff. The deck looks legit. I think Paradox took his version of the deck and hit rank 1 legend on Asia as well. So it's hit rank 1 on 2 servers now. The deck is legit. It is a huge winner from Fortune the Barrens, and I think a deck, similar to Libra Paladin, you guys got to start taking seriously. The deck is good.
Yeah, I'm actually a little surprised that it hasn't caught on more widely at this point. Like I think it's really, really good, really, really strong. Like borderline. Like if I was going to do my tier list or something, I'd probably have Handbuff in tier 1. Like I don't know. It's really good. So I do think like Saronite and Runthurk are potentially cards that you still want to play. Like you can probably change the build a little bit. I'm not sure how good like the Chillblade Champion, how that compares to something like Saronite. They probably just hit different things. You like more charge, probably better against Priest, and more taunt, probably better against, I don't know, like Pirate Warrior or something. But yeah, Handbuff Pally, kind of completely insane. And, you know, big shout outs to Bodybuilder for getting that rank 1. And, you know, we'll see. I mean, it has to trickle out at some point, right? It can't be just the same 4 people playing this deck and, you know, the wider player base not picking it up. They have to pick it up at some point. Like, it has to. The deck's too good.
I don't think it has like the skill cap that something like Darkglare does, right? Like, no offense to Handbuff Paladin, but like, it's a deck that the wider population should be able to play, right? And should be able to have success with. So it's very surprising that it's not seeing a lot more play.
Yeah, when you compare it to things like Secret Mage, right? Like Secret Mage is probably similarly positioned in terms of strength. Handbuff Pally is probably better. It's probably better than Secret Mage. But yeah, Handbuff, it is a little surprising. So maybe it's just because I honestly don't know whether it's just like Paladin specifically. I mean, Paladin has had lots of decks in the past that have been very strong and the players just don't like to play it. I mean, it's happening at Standard right now where Libram Paladin is incredibly underplayed relative to how strong it is. And so whether we're talking about Odd Pally or Handbuff Pally, I mean, this is a recurring theme for the class. People just don't like playing it that much for whatever reason, while acknowledging that it's pretty strong. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if it finally happens, because it can make very flashy plays, right? Like Sumuro is a very flashy play.
That card is broken, by the way. It is so good.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Anyways.
Yeah, it's nutty. For sure.
Okay, so yes, I mean, I think the moral of this, 5-minute segment here is Paladin, huge winners. I think it's got 4 decks in like tier 1, tier 2. I know you guys might find Paladin boring, but if you want to win games, if you want to hit Legend, if you want to climb, Paladin, you can't go wrong with Paladin. Play any of those 4 decks that you mentioned. And
whatever variant you like. Yeah. You'll do fine.
And I think they all play fairly differently. I want to point that out as well. Like, as much as we used to rag on Paladin as being like, it does the same thing in like 3 different ways. Like, I feel like all of these decks play very differently from each other. And so, like, pick whichever one fits your playstyle better, what you enjoy playing, and then, like, feel free to climb with it. I think Paladin, like, it jumped from, like, Odd Paladin being the only playable deck to now it has 4 very, very viable, strong decks that you should be playing. So let's talk about Mage. So, Mage, I think, is in a very, very interesting spot. So let's talk about Secret Mage. Secret Mage, I think, coming into the expansion, a lot of people thought was the second best deck, right behind Darkglare. And it didn't really pick up anything, right? It picked up Oasis Ally as like a tech secret, right? Stuff like Flame Ward and Ice Block, where like it becomes the 8th secret depending on the metagame. But do you think that it has gained or lost ground? I know we talked about its unfavorable into the Death and Taxes, but is favorable into APM Mage. So do you think that it's kind of like maintained its ground? Do you think it's probably like the second best deck in the format, or do you think it's lost a little bit? So talk to me a little bit about Secret Mage.
I think it's lost a little bit of ground. Not like a ton. Like, I think the deck is obviously still very good, but yeah, I think it's definitely like taken a step back from where it was prior to the expansion release. Turns out this set was actually like very powerful and impactful, and not picking up anything kind of hurts, right? In addition to that, the fact that like these other archetypes are sort of handling Mage decently well, like the Tax Pally and things like that. And so yeah, I would definitely say that it's taken a small step back. Finally, like it took some time, but I think it's finally happened.
I think another contributing factor is like not only the Death and Taxes Paladin, but we'll talk about this in a little bit. But Pirate Warrior, man, Pirate Warrior kind of bodies Secret Mage in my experience. Like my very small sample size, it bodies Secret Mage. So now like Secret Mage has like a couple of really, really poor matchups, right? You've got Pirate Warrior, you've got this Aggro Paladin. I'm assuming Odd Warrior is still like an unfavorable matchup. I haven't seen an Odd Warrior in what feels like years.
It doesn't exist.
Yeah, but I think Secret Mage now has more decks that counter it super hard. I think what we saw in the past when we were looking at VS reports was Secret Mage had like 1 unfavorable matchup, and then like as people adjusted 3, right? Pirates, Pirate Warrior, Odd Warrior, and then like Odd Rogue. And now, while we've lost Odd Rogue, we've got a couple of other decks that kind of take that place. But I kind of agree with you. I don't think Secret Mage is by far and away the most dominant. I still think it's in that tier 1, right? Like if I had to label it, if I had to pick 5 of the best decks in the format, I think Secret Mage would still be up there. So it's still a very, very good deck. I think it is no longer, in the conversation though for best deck in the format.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I think I probably might have it a little bit lower or like right on that cusp, I think, if I had to do it. Okay. But yeah, it's still really good. But I think the Rising Paladin in general has been a little iffy for the archetype, because I think it does have trouble with that class as a whole. Not even just like Tax Pally, just like what Paladin in general has picked up.
What do you mean, dude? You got Flak Mage. Flak Mage beats everything.
I don't know. Maybe hand buff. I'm not sure how the hand buff Pally matchup goes, but Pally, I'm sure if it goes tall enough, Mage might have a trouble. But yeah.
Yeah, dude. Whatever. I was playing some Secret Mage. Flak Mage cures all ailments. Flak Mage is a
okay. You having a good time with it?
Yeah, I was having a little fun. And you got the Flak Mages, and you got Flame Ward coming back. Like, it's probably not as bad of a matchup as maybe you're making it out to be, but
I don't know. Maybe it should have gotten 1 mana Worm back. It does a 1/3.
No, don't go that far. That is just rude. All right, can you imagine that in like APM? Like, would you run that in APM, Mage? Side tangent. Would you run him 1 mana Worm?
Would I play it in APM? I don't know. Do you like killing people with 30 attack worms?
I kind of wish that they had a nerf to just so we could see that, and then immediately like
a day later they're like, all right, let's put that back where it came from.
Exactly. Okay, so let's move on. Let's talk about the APM Mage next. It's burst onto the scene. I don't want to call this like a newcomer, right? Because this is kind of how Quest Mage has morphed. It was Quest Mage, and then it turned into Mazaki Mage, and now it's APM Mage. So, like, following that trend, I think it's obviously a huge winner. Specifically, you have Refreshing Spring Water as, like, the big boon to the deck, and then, obviously, you kind of figuring out how to play it and popularizing it. So, are you confident and just happy kind of talking about Combo Mage as, like, it's a winner in the metagame? Nothing too exciting?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it's great. It's great. It's a great deck. I'm very happy it's here. And, it's toxic, but, I'm having a great time playing it. But, yeah, definitely a massive winner. Kind of surprising, actually. It's doing better than I anticipated. Like, I felt okay about the deck. Like, I was playing a lot of it before the expansion came out, like I said earlier. But I knew that Refreshing was going to be broken in the deck. I just didn't think that it would actually, like, push it this far.
Like catapulted from like a tier 3 deck to like a tier 1 deck. You didn't think it was gonna go.
Yeah, I think it was like tier 4, maybe meme territory kind of thing. And now I'm like,
you played Yu-Gi-Oh, dude. You know how powerful Pot of Greed is. How did you not know the impact that this card is gonna have?
What does that card do?
We're not doing that. We're a Hearthstone podcast. We're not going that far. All right, but okay. But yeah, Refreshing. The fact that it gains you mana, I think, is the most disgusting part. But I mean, combo, we don't need to harp on this too long. APM Mage or Combo Mage or whatever you want to call it, it is big winner. And let's talk about, you love Combo Mage. Let's talk about the Mage deck that I love the most. Let's talk about Reno Mages, right? Whether it's the Reno Secrets or the LPG variants. I have played God knows how many variations of LPG Reno Mage, and anybody that's watched any of my YouTube videos, I'm sorry, because I posted like 3 Mage decks this week. Dragon Caster on nerf, Dragon Queen Alexstrasza on nerf. The printing of stuff like new Alexstrasza and Varden, dude, LPG Mage is like legit, and I am happy that it's back. It's not a top tier deck by any stretch of the imagination. It has its counters. It's weak into a lot of things, but the fact that it's like playable again makes me so happy. Like, it was completely pushed out of the meta by Secret Mage and Darkglare Warlock. Like, completely pushed out. Those matchups were miserable. And Big Priest, right? I think those were the 3 decks that were the most popular. 3 out of the 4 most popular decks the last time we did a VS report or something like that.
Yeah.
And those matchups were miserable for this deck. But stuff like Varden helps against Darkglare. Obviously, Secret Mage and Darkglare are less popular now. You have the ability to go over the top now with Dragon Queen Alexstrasza against stuff like Big Priest. I want to call it a winner, but I'm not going to go as far as say it's like top tier. But I'm very, very happy it's back.
Yeah, I think it's a winner. I mean, when you factor in like the reverts that it got as well and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like, a lot of people have been trying like very secret heavy decks. I've seen some experimentation there where they're running explosive and potion of polymorph and things like that as a very anti APM mage version of the deck. So Arcanologist, Ancient Mysteries, rather than just running just like Mad Scientist Ward block as like that 3-card package, people are expanding on that to be very disruptive, and it's very annoying to play against, right? Because it's hard for the APM to like handle those secrets in addition to the threat of like block Reno, in addition to the threat of like infinite looping Lothabs. Like it's a very tough matchup sometimes. And yeah, LPG Mage, either like a more secret heavy version or just like the dragons and doing stuff like that. Definitely a winner, I think. I think it's haven't seen a ton of it, but I've seen a number of players doing well with it.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Hijo, right? He hit the rank 1 with the Reno secret LPG mage that you're talking about that's been popularized. And I think that is by far and away the more competitive version, right? And specifically because it is a hell of a lot cheaper than the dragon version of the deck. And I think that, honestly, that's probably the biggest barrier for people playing this deck. Like, I know a lot of people love the deck, but it is by far and away the most expensive deck in the format. So
it's a mortgage. It's a mortgage in a card game. So
I think my dragon build, like not even trying to make it as expensive as I could, was like 28,000 dust, which was kind of disgusting.
Yeah, 30K. That's the figure that I remember in my head. It's like so roughly like 30K. It's like, ugh.
That's like 5 or 6 like regular aggro decks like worth of dust. But I mean, I'm very excited. I think the Reno secret version I think is probably like, I hate calling things in tiers, but it's probably in that like second level of powerful decks, and then the Reno Dragons is probably in that third tier. But I think the fact that it's playable in the meta means that it's a winner. So I'm happy with that. And I think Mage as a whole, I think Secret Mage got a little bit worse, but LPG Mage and Combo Mage coming back is a big, big boon to the class. And so I think Mage as a whole is also a winner.
Yeah.
All right, now let's talk about the next class. Let's talk about Priest. So Priest is a little bit of a loser when it comes to the fact that some of the new archetypes that we were a little bit excited for didn't really pan out. And so Big Priest and Arena Priest remain like the only viable archetypes, I feel like, for Priest. So let's talk about the two of them. So Arena Priest getting a little bit of a rework, right? You got Power Word Shield back. You have Thrive in the Shadows. You have I still don't know how to pronounce this, but like Talon, Fordring.
Yeah, I say Talon. Yeah.
Whatever his name is. So you get a little bit of a reworking of the deck to make it a little bit more consistent, and the ability to hit your removal, hit your Reno. So Arena Priest, I think, probably gained the most, because I know before Forged in the Barrens we were talking about how Arena Priest was maybe not even like in the top 5 most powerful decks right now in the format. A lot of decks had adjusted to it. It was kind of suffering as a result of tech cards and stuff like that. I would like to say that Arena Priest is probably a big winner, right? It's probably up there for one of the most powerful decks in the format right now, and I don't know if that's because it picks on some of the aggressive decks. It has Lucia to pick on APM Mage. I'm not sure if it's just because it's really early in the expansion cycle, but it feels really, really powerful.
I'd hesitate even calling it like a big winner, because I think it's probably just barely better than where it was previously. Like it's still, it was like a really good deck, maybe not the absolute best, and currently it's like a really good deck. So like if it's going up by a bit, it's only a small amount. But yeah, the deck did pick up some new stuff, which is cool for Arena Priest lovers. And the rest of us are very sad about that, but it is what it is. So, we have the ability to tune a Reno. That's a fun package. The shield is nice. Like you're saying, the deck has gone through a small rework. Lucia is now, like previously I would have gone about how a Lucia was probably a terrible option in the format, but now it seems like a fine option, right? Like there's a lot of Flamewaker Mage, and Lucia kind of is a nightmare into that matchup. And so Lucia back in the list. But yeah, it's very tight right now. Like the deck is sort of it has too many options. Like it's got a lot going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's really nice though, right? Like if you are somebody who enjoys playing Arena Priest, because there are like 35, 36 cards that could probably belong.
That are very legit.
Yeah, like right now, I've seen a lot of Arena Priests like teching in Shadow Word Horror because Tex Paladin was super popular. But like Wave of Apathy is currently not in the list, and if like Darkly Warlock becomes more popular, then you just bring back Wave of Apathy, and like it's kind of disgusting the flexibility the deck has while still being able to maintain that super powerful combo finisher, right? It's kind of disgusting. And I mean, obviously, like Priest AoE is kind of broken, and then the singleton cards are kind of broken. So I mean, it's no surprise that it's very, very good when the consistency of the deck gets better.
For sure. Yeah, picked up some cool, good new stuff. It just reminded me the way you're talking about that. If Specialist was still a format, like would I just bring Reno Priest if I just had to like tech out 5 cards, second 5 others, you know, things like that? Like Reno Priest seems like it'd be really good in that format.
Dude, I like had to think about what Specialist was for a second there.
But you won a wild Specialist tournament, Meowth, and it's already gone from your memory.
Back in my day. That was like 2 years ago, dude. That was so long ago. That is literally forever ago. Let's talk about the other priest deck, though. Speaking about forever ago, because this deck will never freaking go away. Big Priest. Thrive in the Shadows was the big inclusion, or kind of upgrade for this deck, right? And it just means that you're more consistently able to hit your Shadow Essence, which means that you are more likely to have that I win button. And so, yeah, Big Priest getting a little bit stronger. I mean, let's talk about its place in the metagame, though, right? Does it beat up on the Aggro Paladins, the APM Mages, the Darkly Warlocks, the Secret Mage? Like, how is it doing in the metagame?
Yeah, I think Big Priest is actually a little bit of a loser.
Yeah,
that's where I think it's taken a small step back. Which is funny, right? Because, like, you think in theory, like, giving it Thrive the Shadows would just be great. But yeah, and Rogue's gone as well, right? So like that's another thing where it should be sort of happy about that. But yeah, I do think it's like a little bit weaker now than it was pre-expansion or pre-reverts as well.
Yeah, I think the fact that like APM Mage is a thing and Secret Mage is still super popular, and then Reno Priest I feel like has gotten more popular, is a bad sign for Big Priest. And stuff like Pirate Warrior has gotten faster, it feels like, and so being able to get underneath those Shadow Essences is a big thing. Yeah, occasionally you have the turn 4 Shadow Essences to kind of blow out any deck, but I think in general, big picture, it's the decks that have become popular, there are more unfavorables for Big Priest than there are favorables. So yeah, I was going to go that same route. I think Big Priest is a little bit of a loser. I think the first deck that we've talked about, maybe Secret Mage, of being like a loser of Forged in the Barrens. So basically the moral of the story, stop playing Big Priest, guys, yeah? Please?
Yeah, come play APM Mage. Come play APM Mage.
Just kidding, keep playing Big Priest. Let's talk about Warlock. So, a couple big things that happened for Warlock was a neutral card getting unnerfed, Bad Luck Albatross, and the inclusion of Drain Soul, I guess the buff from the core set. I think Cube Lock or Control Warlock, Control Warlock, basically the same deck without cubes, much better, because birds, we talked about this, what feels like for 3 episodes in a row now, but the fact that Bad Luck Albatross is a card now allows Cube Warlock to have a fighting chance against Priest, which were like 2 of the worst matchups for the deck. And Void Color into Void Lord and Hysteria and Dark Skies and Defile means that it's a pretty damn good anti-aggressive deck. So I mean, Cube Lock, not the most exciting deck. I don't think it runs any new cards, right? So not the most exciting deck, but I do think it's a winner.
Hey! I played Watch Post. In my Control Warlock.
Yeah, I mean, Watch Post is fine, but I guess Drain Soul is technically a new card. Do you count that?
Yeah, Drain Soul's new. All right. Yeah, sure.
But yeah, Cube Lock, same old. It's boring. Let's talk about the next deck. Let's talk about Reno Lock. So Reno Lock, again, another deck that I don't think got anything from the new expansion, unless you count Watch Post.
I'm seeing way less Reno Lock. I can't remember. I'm seeing way less of this deck, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't get anything unless you count Watch Post, and not all decks were running it. And then what's happened? You've got this influx of combo decks, right? Mali Druid, APM Mage, and then Reno Priest has gotten better. So it feels like Reno Lock is, maybe it comes back as like the counter to Reno Priest, but like it probably just, I haven't played it myself, but it seems like it just has a miserable time into Celestial Druid and APM Mage.
Yeah, I wonder even how the Pally matchup is, to be honest. Like, I can't imagine Oh My Yogg is super fun. I guess Zeph and the Hungry Crab, that's a neat interaction. I guess that can probably shut down Paladin sometimes.
I was going to bring that up when we talked about Murloc Shaman, but yeah, I Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I will say, like, because you're running singletons, I think Renalock only ran like 7 or 8 spells, and so it's really,
Okay.
really hard to proc Oh My Yogg and then be able to follow
Yeah.
it up with an AoE spell. So I guess it's probably not as good into the aggro Secret Paladin as something like Keyblock, right, where you have the multiple
Yeah, you
spells to
also have
help
like
proc it.
multiple void callers, right? Like and the skull. But yeah, just a thought. But yeah, Reno like really seeing much less of it recently. I don't know about the deck getting nothing. I mean, I guess it did, right? Like the Warlock set just didn't help with that much. Like if Tamsin isn't getting any use in the deck, which I don't think it is, like I don't really see why. It's mostly just like Drained Soul and maybe the Watch Post, and that's kind of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I guess like Raynalock, bit of a loser.
I
I
would
mean, it
say
was
a big
solid.
loser, to be completely honest with you. Like, it seems like it's not very favorable in the
Okay.
meta at all.
Yeah, I mean, definitely not a winner then. At least we're on the same page of that.
And then let's talk about Darkler Warlock. So Darkler Warlock, I, I haven't seen enough of the deck to see what new builds are. Like, I don't know if Tamsin is good in Darkler. I don't know if Drain Soul is better than Spellstone. Not sure. So it might have gotten some new toys, but I can't imagine Darkler is very happy about the rise of Death and Taxes Paladin and APM Mage. Those feel like miserable matchups for the deck as well.
Yeah, Dark Lair loser, big loser, which is weird, super weird, man, super weird thinking about it like that. There was like so much negativity before the expansion came out, and I'm not even excluded from that. About how much of a bummer it was the theory craft because you're like, oh, I'm just gonna get Dark Led, and now Dark Lair, I mean, it's been pushed out to such a degree, hasn't it? Like, I think it's still, I think it's still good. Um, but I haven't played a ton of the deck. I haven't really looked at the builds too much. I know that there has been some discussion about Golem versus Tamsin, but there honestly just hasn't been enough attention to the deck right now that stuff has been figured out because people just aren't playing it that much. I don't think.
Well, I mean, they're probably not playing it because it sucks into APM Mage, right? And it sucks
Yeah,
into Death and Taxes.
like it never stopped them. It never stopped them before, right? Like everyone was playing Dark Lair when it was nutty, and so yeah, it's probably just not that great right now.
Yeah. So I mean, Darkler, big loser. I think I'll be very interested to see like if the nerfs to Death and Taxes Paladin is enough for it to come back. I know. I
Yeah.
mean, you probably know this a lot better than I do because I didn't play much at High Legend for the past couple of months, but it seemed like Darkler Warlock. Would you agree was like by far and away the best deck of the format? Because you were talking about before Fortune of the Barrens, it was like play Darkler or you're trolling if you're trying to win, right? And so it feels
Yeah,
like Darkler has come back to the rest of the pack a little bit at least because at least maybe it can be countered. I guess I'm not sure how to phrase that. But
yeah. I'd say like before the expansion came out, I was very comfortable in thinking like, yeah, there's very much a gap, right? There's like Dark Lair, then there's the rest. Um, from pretty much like from the moment the mini set, like once the build was figured out and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it did feel like that Dark Lair or the rest, and now Dark Lair is sort of just another high rolly deck in the format, that still loses to random stuff. So yeah, it's much more back with the rest of the pack, and whether it can survive or not survive, but whether it bounces back with the Paladin nerfs will be very interesting to watch because
yeah,
no pun intended there. They're very interested to see because that is a nightmare matchup right now, and it does okay, I think, into APM Mage without the blocks. It's the Mizaki build that it has a real problem with, but I think the Mizaki deck will decrease in popularity. I think people keep playing the APM Flamewaker version more and more.
do you think the APM Flamewaker version is worse than Darkler? Like, do you think it's still
Yes,
favored
yeah.
for APM Mage though?
Ooh, I think it might be Glare favored. I'm not sure exactly, to be honest. It's a tricky matchup to get my head around because the games where like even if you're like not favored right now, you can very easily tech in Cult Neophyte,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're favored. Like Cult Neophyte sort of bodies you, and
Yeah.
so if it becomes that popular, you have a very easy way, especially if Penfling gets nerfed. Hey, you just got like 2 more deck slots or 2 more card slots. So
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. So yeah, keep an eye on Darkler. But right now, as of April 10th, it is a big loser in the metagame. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about Warrior though. Let's talk about probably one of the biggest winners. Let's talk about some Pirate Warrior. Pirate Warrior getting the new 2/1, getting the new Axe, getting the new 2/2. Man, Pirate Warrior is so good.
Yeah, sorry, Meowth. I'd be happy to talk about Pirate Warrior. I'm just thinking about the missing the Hey Loser pun when talking about Dark Glare. But either way, let's jump into Pirate Warrior. Yeah, Pirate Warrior, big winner. Pirate Warrior picking up a whole bunch of stuff and it's sort of lining up really well into the meta as well. So it's like two things went really great at once, I think. The weapon build with all the axe. Hey, it turns out just run the good cards. Don't worry about all this whole, can I fit in my 18 weapon cards in one deck? Doesn't matter. Play the good cards. You'll do fine. The build looks great. Doesn't seem to be anything that's underperforming. Rakara has been a surprising, huge boon to the deck as well. Really performing quite solidly right now. So yeah, Pirate Warrior, big winner for sure.
I think it's really, really nice into both Death and Taxes and Secret Mage, probably two of the most popular decks in the format because, I mean, first of all, you don't run any spells, dude. Like, new Pirate Warrior runs no spells. So no Oh My Yogg, no Never Surrenders to worry about, and then no counter spells or Netherwind Portals to worry about. Like, it's actually kind of insane, but I think this is maybe the first deck that doesn't run any spells. That is like
I remember theory crafting something like this a long time ago, like a couple expansions back that ran 0 spells, and the idea was screw you, Secret Mage. It didn't quite catch on for whatever reason. The card that I wanted wasn't better than like Upgrade or something like that. But yeah, this whole like no spell version. I mean, it kind of reminds me of when there'll be things like Spell Hunter was really good into Secret Mage at the time because explosive runes did nothing and things like that. And it's kind of weird when you get these very dense, very skewed decks that they just don't have any interaction with what your opponent's trying to do in terms of like counterspell or explosive runes and things like that.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we don't need to dwell too much on this. I think just Pirate Warrior is a very, very, very good deck.
Good.
Play the deck. It's strong. It's just like we talked about all those Paladin decks that you should play if you want to win.
Just dodge Priest, but you'll do great.
But I think Pirate Warrior is probably better than all 4 of those Paladin. Like, I am very confident in saying Pirate Warrior is better than the Death and Taxes Paladin.
Yeah. So I was kind of weighing it up, and I'm like, yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
Would you wager, like, would you be confident in saying Pirate Warrior best aggro deck in the format right now?
Ooh, best aggro deck in the format. I mean, I don't know. I kill people a lot turn 4 with Mage. That
doesn't count.
None of my aggro decks. No, would I say Pirate Warrior is the best aggro? Yeah, probably actually. Yeah.
All right.
Good for Pirate Warrior, dude. Good for Pirate Warrior.
It deserves it after its time, struggling with no new cards for like a year and a half. It deserves it. Yeah. Let's talk about a couple of other warrior archetypes. So Odd Warrior, I don't think got anything. But it remains like the premier like anti-aggro deck that loses to literally anything that's not aggro. So if you want to pick on Secret Mage or Pirate Warrior or Murloc Shaman or Death and Taxes, whatever aggro deck, if you want to pick on those, play Odd Warrior. If you don't mind,
I haven't seen one in a year. Don't know what an Odd Warrior looks like.
I queued an Even Shaman, and the first game was the first Odd Warrior I had seen in like a month and a half, which was.
It do be like that.
It do be like that. But, I mean, Odd Warrior I don't think has shifted much in the metagame. It still plays the same role. I think it's same old. Galakrond Warrior. I want to talk about this a little bit because Galakrond Warrior has never really caught on in the West, right? For whatever reason. While it's been super popular over like Chinese and Asia servers. But I've been playing a little bit of Galakrond Warrior with stuff like Albatross and the 2-1 and the Outrider's Axe and Rakara. It feels, and a 3-mana Scion, we can't kind of gloss over that. Mm-hmm. It got a bunch of upgrades to the deck, and it feels good. It feels like it's probably going to fill that role of stuff like that Even Shaman usually fills, like that anti-aggressive deck. And I think Galakrond Warrior has the additional upside of like it's pretty good into Reno Priest because not only do you have the birds, but like you play the Galakrond and you just like you hit him in the face for like 8 to 10 damage every turn, and like what are they going to do about it? All right, and so like even after they Reno, you're punching them in the face, so they can't really spawn if shadows kill you, and you kind of just you have that inevitability. I think that's the right word. And so I think Galakrond Warrior is a winner. I don't know how much it is, right? I think it's pretty early. People haven't really started playing the deck, but I think it's one that people should maybe be keeping an eye on as like a potential sleeper in the format.
Yeah, I haven't played it anything myself. I would say that like the Raider Priest matchup used to feel okay as long as you didn't just run out of cards. Like as long as you had something to do throughout like up until your Galakron and after that, you used to do pretty good. And I guess like now the axe sort of fixes that slightly, right? You just get a bit more card draw, you get a bit more like resources and things like that. And so yeah, when I kept on trying to make pirate Galakron Warrior, it always came back to like, am I just making a pirate deck? Because the two drops that it has on offer are so sad to me. But yeah, Galakron Warrior, I haven't really experimented with it too much, but I could see it, especially with the birds, to try and fix up some of those Reno matchups, which have been some of the biggest issues for sure.
Yeah.
In addition to things like Big Priest and Cube Warlock, the Reno decks in general have been sort of, like if you can shut down Reno, those matchups become a lot more comfortable. For sure.
Yeah, I will say Cube Blocks and Big Priest are still unwinnable. But
yeah, right.
I think the fact that Bird exists is a big help. And then, of course, with the Invoke, and then with stuff like 3-mana Scion and Rokara, your aggressive matchups, right? Stuff like Odd Paladin, stuff like the Death and Taxes, stuff like Pirate Warrior is actually, I feel like, very favored for you. It feels really nice in those matchups. So yeah, again, Galakron Warrior, very small sample size, but I think one of those decks that maybe keep an eye on as a potential sleeper. Test that out a little bit, see how it does. But yeah, so let's move on to Shaman. Let's talk about Murloc Shaman. So, yes, winner, right? It got 9 new cards. Of course it's going to be a winner. It's going to have much more of a prevalence in the metagame. I made the claim last week that Murloc Shaman was in that tier 1 decks. Like in some of the best decks in the format. I rescind that statement, primarily because of the existence of Zeph. The amount of times that I got blown out this week of Zeph into Hungry Crab made me want to rip my hair out. Like, it was so frustrating. And I do not think that Murloc Shaman will be anywhere close to tier 1 as long as Zephyrs exists with Hungry Crab in its pool. Like, it just cannot exist. I think it's still a good deck. Don't get me wrong. I think Murloc Shaman is a very good deck. You could definitely hit Legend with it. It's probably, in that tier 2 archetypes, but it will never be one of the best decks in the format as long as Zeph exists. It is so frustrating. Sorry, I went on a little mini rant there, but yes, it's a winner. It's a winner, but I don't think it's that good. It's not going to be a tier 1 deck.
Look, I'm here for any Zephyrus slander. Anytime anyone wants to have has an issue with it, I'm all ears. But yeah, I mean, I still think that doesn't single-handedly hold it back too much, to be honest. Like, I just think it's one of those things that feels so terrible to go into that it just sort of leaves such a bad taste in your mouth with the deck. Like, it doesn't even matter if you went like 5-2. It's like if those 2 losses were games where you just got like Zeph rolled, they just feel disgusting and make you want to quit and do something else. I mean, I still think Murloc Shaman is really good. One of the better decks in the format, I would say.
I agree, but I also have a petition to delete Hungry Crab from Zeph's pool because, like,
look, we can just delete Zeph Meowth. We don't have to go through these hoops about changing the pools. They already said the pool was locked. All right, how about we just bulldoze the whole thing over?
I would be okay with that. I'm a little bit biased, as you can tell. I had a pretty negative experience this week.
Yeah, you sound shaken up.
I'm a little bit jaded by Zeph.
A little shook.
Yeah. I will say Murloc Carpet, dude, that card is bonkers. That card is so good.
Yeah.
In combination with those 1-drops, like the Mermy and Better Mermy.
The Mermy and the new one. Like, the fact that it's summon, not play.
It's so good, dude. It is so good. I will say I am thinking about a couple of like I was on board with those being like the best 30 cards. I've been thinking a little bit about, are there some maybe better options than something like Ice Fishing that we might want to mess around with? But I think solidly 20 out of 30 of those cards are very good. I think Murloc Shaman is a pretty busted deck, even if you cry whenever you get Zephed and Hungry Crabbed. But let's talk about Even Shaman. So Even Shaman really only getting kind of Flame Tongue Totem as like a new card, if we're excluding like the Even Murloc Shaman, just because that never really took off. But Even Shaman, I hesitate to call it a winner. I think it's kind of stayed the same, just because it still has that really miserable matchup into Priest, right? And so therefore, like I think it still holds that same place where it's like it's an okay deck. It's a very good anti-aggressive aggro deck. but like Priest is a mid-level matchup, and so it's not gonna climb the power rankings.
I mean, I haven't seen very much even Shaman at all, so I can't. I haven't played it. I haven't really played against it, so I'm not too into this conversation. Like I can't really give too much on this one.
I will say though that Flame Tongue Totem is a very, very. I played a little bit. I went on a little bit of a nice run today with it. I went like 9-0.
Yeah.
With the deck.
Nice.
Flame Tongue Totem is sick. Like Flame Tongue Totem, in combination with the totem buff spells, like you blow people out turn 2, turn 3. Like other aggressive decks, like the games are over on turn 2, turn 3 because it's like kind of insane. So like it has that going for it. I think it's strengthened its matchups into those decks, right? But because you still get blown out by a Hysteria or a Mass Hysteria, or Shadow Word Horror, because that's being teched in now. Like you hate those, and so it struggles. It struggles into Priest still. So I think it's holding its same position in the metagame. Not really a big winner or a big loser, even though it technically got a new card. All right, so let's move on to our last 4 classes. Let's talk about Demon Hunter. We can gloss over this really, really quickly because Demon Hunter didn't really get any new toys, and so it's the same old. It's kind of stayed the same. It's it's a solid aggro deck. You can hit Legend with it if you want. If you're trying to grind your 1,000 wins, like Odd Demon Hunter is a viable choice to play. Like you're not going to lose a ton of games, but you're not going to win a ton of games either. So nothing really much more to say about Demon Hunter. We're really waiting for some like rotations to happen, and there be some wild specific Demon Hunter cards that they can print something busted and let us have fun with it. Yeah. And then Druid. Let's talk about our baby. Let's talk about Token Druid. So there's 2 different builds of Token Druid. One running like Guff and Gibberlings, and the other running like Oaken Summons with Vargoth and the 5/10. I haven't messed around with it a ton. It has not felt nearly as strong because, again, Priest remains super popular, and stuff like Secret Mage and a bunch of Paladin decks and Pirate Warrior are a lot more popular, and they help keep Token Druid off the board, right? Or by the time Token Druid does its thing, they have a board that can kind of contest it. So it feels like Token Druid is a little bit of a loser. I hate to say it, but it does feel like a little bit of a loser in the metagame. So
yeah, I think Guff is probably bad, just based on the fact that it's bad in Standard, right? Like a very similar archetype, the Gibberling Standard version. Guff was found to be really bad in that deck and deserves to be cut. And so my assumption is that it's probably a similar case in Wild, and it's probably just not worth using.
That makes me sad. Why did you have to go and say
sorry.
that?
I'm sorry. I had to be I didn't mean to.
The bearer of bad news. Dude, we have Guff as like our background of today's podcast. Like, how are you going to say
No, we don't. We don't have Guff as the background. We have that cute little croc as the background. the main character of that picture.
Yeah, we're just going to ignore the Tauren with the huge muscles in the background.
I would die for that crocodile. But yeah.
That crocodile is like the definition of like white people happy. The emo.
Yeah.
That is what that is. Okay, anyways, last Druid deck to talk about, Combo Druid. So this is like the Celestial Mally version or like the Celestial Tog version. I know I've seen both versions. Kind of ignoring what the win con is. We've talked a little bit about this already, so we don't need to spend a ton of time on it, but kind of Combo Druids in general. I know they're gaining popularity because it's like a new build of the deck, but how strong do you think it is in relation to a lot of the other stuff in the meta?
I would say it's a small winner just because of the fact that it was so bad previously. Like, it was so trash last expansion, and I'm like, it's hard to be a loser. Like, it has to be slightly better, right? Like, I have to be a little bit higher on it. So yeah, I'll go with slight winner, at least for nothing else than the fact that it's making us change and think about the build for once for the first time in like a year or something. So yeah, that's a winner just on that.
All right, fair enough. Speaking of trash, let's talk about Hunter. God, I'm sorry. I do that every time, and then I like... sorry. I'm sorry, Hunter mains out there. But I'm speaking the truth because Hunter is struggling yet again. Another expansion, same story for Hunter. So Beast Hunter had its like 2 days in the spotlight with Starving Buzzard being unnerved.
And what a 2 days it was. Amazing. Had a great time with that.
But yeah, it turns out that it's not a very good deck. Reno Hunter hasn't really taken off a ton. Neither has Secret Hunter. But I do want to talk about one deck that I've been having a lot of success with, actually. I want to talk about Even Hunter. So Even Hunter is kind of like the modern day version of Face Hunter. And the reason I want to talk about it is because it is so powerful in stuff like APM Mage and Secret Mage. that I definitely think it's actually pretty good. In my small sample size, I am 16-6 with the deck in Legend, so it's pretty powerful. The ability to literally never let the Secret Mages have their rigged fair game, because you can literally always just one mana tap the button and they take damage, is kind of insane. And then like if you can, the snowball potential of those 2 drops I think is actually super underrated. And then you combine that with the amount of damage from stuff like Frenzied Fellwings for 0 mana and Dragonbane is actually pretty powerful. So, I just trash talked Hunter, but like I will stand for Even Hunter because I think it's probably the best hope for the class that it's had in a very, very long time.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't really played Even Hunter personally, so happy to see some success. I have seen on a different there was the Chinese meta report that have been dropping. We get some of them. On one of the reports that I saw today, they had Even Hunter as like, I don't want to put a tier on it, but I'm pretty sure it was like up there as one of like a good deck, not among the best, but it was a good deck. And so yeah, it seems like that's a popular sentiment, or at least something a little bit widespread. In terms of like Reno Hunter, I would be interested to see what would happen if people, went for a Starving Buzzard build. I think Reno Hunters in general probably always edge towards being far too greedy in the format, and they should be more aggressive and more like mid-rangey and things like that. And so I'd like to see how that went, but I'm not going to be the brave one that actually bothers to put in the work on that. I'm just gonna like lob suggestions from here without putting any of the work in myself, and I'm just gonna just chill.
No, so what you do is you queue on rank 1 with a Hunter deck with just one game. Okay,
right?
You win that game somehow.
Oh,
or whatever, win or lose. You end the game still at rank 1. Then you take the screenshot and be like, rank 1 Hunter build, net deck this, and then get the the data on that to see like that's how you refine it, right? That's what you did with the aggro face Reno Hunter that didn't run Reno.
Rank 2 legend. Hey, I climbed with that thing. Yeah, the classic Corbett's Gambit, the classic vintage maneuver. But yeah, poor Hunter, dude. I mean, Hunter had a great 5 days. Like, I had a great time with Hunter, and it's over, and we'll see how it goes next rotation.
That's true. I will say, I do think that there's actually something legitimate with Even Hunter. Like, again,
okay,
it is so far away from being a tier 1 deck. I'm not even going to try to joke about that, but I do think it is a good deck, and I think it is probably the best hope for the class that it's had in a very long time. I know we had that like bright light of like we thought we could see the light at the end of the tunnel, where like Secret Hunter was like a tier 2 deck for a little bit there at the very beginning of Dark Moon Fair, but I do think that like Even Hunter has felt very, very smooth. Maybe it's just because of the metagame that I'm in. It's fine to the Death and Taxes. It's good into the Secret Mages, and so I do think it's very similar to the Galacon Warrior. This is the deck that I would have my eye on, and I am very interested to see, what the HS replay stats look like, next week once people, hear us talk and start playing it, because we totally have that sort of influence on the format, right? But
yeah.
I would say that if I had to keep an eye on 2 decks, it'd be Even Hunter and Galacon Warrior as potential sleepers in the metagame, as like people never play it, but it's probably like low-key kind of good. So, all right, speaking of low-key kind of good, Rogue is anything but that. That Nitro Boost Poison nerf hit hard in combination with Paladin, which has always been Rogue's arch nemesis, becoming insanely, absurdly strong. Rogue, I think, has become, I don't know, it's down there in Hunter tier, man. Like it is not very good.
Yeah, Rogue's trash, dude. Rogue's trash. I mean, I think Odd Rogue is still like probably okay. Like you could probably do okay with Odd Rogue. But yeah, actually now that I'm thinking about it, maybe if they nerf Paladin, maybe I can actually go back to my Miracle Rogue thing that I'm trying to do. But yeah, Rogue kind of in a very iffy spot ever since that Nitro Boost nerf and things like that. I did see there was a Reno Rogue that hit rank 1 Legend Meowth. There was a Reno Rogue that hit rank 1. That's something, right?
Did it hit it from like rank 2?
I don't know. Maybe. It was on the Asia server, so I couldn't really like the tweet that I saw. I didn't understand very much, obviously. Like it wasn't in English, so I don't know. But all I know is it hit rank 1, and I will actually throw Rogue a bone. I can actually see Reno Rogue being quite solid, similar to even something like LPG Mage. How's that for a hot take?
Whoa! Don't you dare! No, I mean,
I can
think that'd
see
be
it
sick.
in a similar space. I can see that maybe.
I will say that on my client today, I did queue into, I believe his name is Espergs, or their name is Espergs, with a fully golden Arena Rogue list that has bodied me a couple times. So, I mean, there's still something there. Like, it has an OTK now. Like, it has a way to end the game. I don't know if you've been on the receiving end of this, but it goes like Spirit of the Shark into Cutter Butter, into like 3-mana Alex, into like 0-mana Tenwu, and then Alex you again. It's kind of disgusting. Like, I did not see that coming. I was like, dude, I'm playing Q Block. We are fine. I will kill them in a couple turns. And then I just like got OTK'd out of nowhere, and I was like, shit. It's kind of sick. Yeah, maybe Arena Rogue has something there. But I will say Kingsbane, I like replaced the Nitro Boost poisons with Ship's Cannon. Did not feel like it helped the deck a ton, especially with Paladin being a thing. So F's in the chat for Kingsbane Rogue. Maybe it'll come back, from the ashes again somewhere down the line. Maybe once they unnerf Nitro Boost poison. Odd Rogue, I know we talked a little bit about this last week. I kind of went more, I took out the Nitro Boost poisons. I kind of went more for a pirate heavy list with Flybooters, the new 3-mana 4/3, and Captains.
Yep.
It felt okay. I will say I had a better win rate with it with Even Hunter than I did with Odd Rogue. So, honestly, maybe Rogue is the bottom dumpster tier and not Hunter. We'll see. But Rogue and Hunter and Druid, I think, are like the 3 decks that are just like...
It's always one class with Hunter, right? Like last expansion it was Shaman, now it's Rogue. Like Hunter's is kind of like always looking for its buddy down there. But yeah, Rogue definitely, like Rogue was the big winner. Possibly the biggest winner out of like the mini set. And, it got its tool taken away. Got the poison taken away, and now it's back to being complete trash. But I don't know. Like, I still think some of the tools that it got with things like Efficient Octobot have massive potential in Wild, like long-term potential. It's just right now, it just hasn't really shown itself to be all that worthwhile. So,
yeah, I agree. You did mention at the very beginning of the Rogue section that, like, if Paladin gets nerfed, right, and we can play Battle Cries again, then, like, maybe the Miracle Rogue comes back, maybe the Pillager Rogues come back. Maybe we can have a little bit of fun, but we'll see. We'll see what the nerfs are and how they affect that Death and Taxes, that deck's popularity.
Although maybe no more Jandas. Maybe no more Jandas. That card's kind of good.
God, never mind. It's all doomed. Yeah. It's all doomed. Stupid standard players taking away all of Rogue's toys, man. They yell at us about Dark Lair. They have taken away so many of our toys. Like, I don't ever want to hear it. Okay. So that's going to wrap up our mini meta report, to be completely honest with you. All the big winners and losers of the set. I know we glossed over a lot of decks as well. This was not encapsulating the entire metagame. But if we went through every deck that we have seen on ladder in the past week and a half, we would be here for another 3 hours. So I'm going to say I think I am very happy with the current state of the metagame. I think it is probably the most diverse it's been in like 7 or 8 months. At least in my experience of not top 100 legend, right? I guess I say more casual as like I'm sitting like, between rank 300 and rank 100, right? I'm not like down in the meme tiers, but like it feels a lot more diverse. There's a lot more decks that are viable and playable, and I'm having a lot more fun at least, and I think that's maybe the most important thing. I don't know how you're feeling up there at rank 1.
I'm having a great time giving my opponents no diversity, no sort of difference. I'm just spamming that same deck over and over every day, and I'm having a great time with it. So, yeah, been fun for me too.
All right. I wonder, I really hope that they nerf Incantus Flow just to make you play different decks and experiment, all right? Not even because it's strong, but I want you to have the experience of playing other decks.
Yeah, remember when I would like theory craft and like play different stuff and help refine? No, none of that. Now it's like tweet out a different APM list with 2 cards changed that I like now instead every second day.
Ignoring Corbett and his APM Mage, you guys let us know down in the comments how you guys are feeling about this metagame. Are you enjoying it? Do you think it's more diverse? Do you agree with our winners or losers? Let us know down in the comments below. But that's going to wrap up our episode today. A little bit of a longer one, but I hope you guys enjoyed. And Corbett, as usual, I enjoyed my time with you. Appreciate you hanging out. Let the people know where they can find you.
I guess you can find me at Corbettgames on Twitter and Twitch and YouTube content and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's Corbettgames, streaming pretty much every day. So thank you guys very much for tuning in, watching, or listening. Much appreciated.
Yeah. Again, make sure you guys check out his content. He is a fabulous streamer and content creator. Show him some love. All right, you guys know where to find me on YouTube. Obviously, you guys have made your way over here. But of course, my live stream, twitch.tv/getmeout. Hope you guys enjoyed the podcast episode. Of course, you can always listen on the go. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any podcast distributor. Make sure you guys check us out there if you want to listen on the go. And of course, I hope you guys are enjoying the new expansion. Hope you're having some fun. And we will see you guys next week. Later.